Hello. I am a 30 something woman working as a team leader at an IT company. It's been a year since my divorce, as I write this story. I couldn't talk to anyone because I hadn't sorted things out, but now I feel like I can finally open up, so I'm sending it in. I wasn't someone who lived my life hating people. Honestly, I didn't want to live like that. But there are people in this world who deserve to be hated. This is a story about how I was almost kicked out of my own house, which I bought with my own money. The people who hid behind the name of family to take advantage of me will probably make you very angry when you hear about it. My hands are still shaking. Still. I hope you'll listen until the end. I endured it all. But in the end, I decided to tear everything down. So, I'll start the story now. I don't really have many good memories from my childhood. It wasn't that my parents had a bad relationship. They loved me dearly. But the problem was that we couldn't settle down. My father ran a business, but it didn't go well. So, we moved a lot. I barely have memories of staying in one place for more than a year. Every time I transferred schools, I'd face those eyes looking me up and down. The feeling of being an outsider in established groups. It repeated so much that at some point, I stopped making friends. I thought, why bother getting close when we'll just end up parting ways again? So, I vowed that the first thing I'd do when I earned money was buy a house. However, shortly after entering college, my parents died in a traffic accident, both of them, on the same day, together. After the funeral and when I came to my senses, all that was left was a daunting future. My relatives offered some help, but I couldn't ask for help with tuition and living expenses. So I worked 4 part-time jobs while studying. I even changed my major to a field that could earn a lot of money after graduation. Fortunately, I started working in the IT field. When I joined the company, I took on all the tasks others avoided. As a result, I became a team leader at 32 and was earning a 6-figure salary, thinking I could achieve my dream. Dating was honestly put on the back burner. I worked solely throughout my 20s. Even when people around me offered blind dates, I always declined due to lack of time. It wasn't until after I turned 30 that I started thinking about marriage. Of course, I didn't intend to rush into meeting just anyone. I had lived alone for so long that I thought it would be okay to live alone forever. I met my husband when I was 34. It was at a business meeting with a partner company. My first impression was that he was ordinary, not handsome. But he had a gentle look. My husband was a manager at the time, 2 years older than me, but his position and salary were about half of mine. Usually, when there's this much of a difference, men feel intimidated or try to compete. They'd show off their insecurities. I'd gone on blind dates where it was always like that. You're a team leader? Wow, that's amazing. Oh, but I'm getting promoted soon too. They'd be busy boasting, but my husband was different. Wow. Honestly, I don't think I could have done that. You achieved all that on your own. I truly respect that. At first, I thought he was just saying it, but as we dated, I realized he was someone who didn't distinguish between men having to work and women having to work. When I was busy, he'd cook and handle chores better than I did. For me, that was incredibly comfortable. I was confident that I could continue pursuing my career ambitions even after marrying him. Exactly 1 year later, I received a proposal. Bo Young, will you marry me? I'll be the one supporting you from behind. I felt that those words were sincere. Around that time, talks about family started to come up. My husband's parents were divorced. I only seemed to talk to my mother-in-law on the phone. They remarried when we were all grown up. But we don't keep in touch. It's complicated. He brushed it off vaguely. I didn't pry either. Everyone has family issues. As marriage discussions progressed, I naturally met my mother-in-law and brother-in-law. We first met at a Korean restaurant in Seoul. My mother-in-law's first impression was, frankly, a bit eccentric. Despite being over 60, she was very flamboyant. She had brightly dyed hair and wore colorful clothes. My brother-in-law said he was the same age as me. He had divorced and was raising one son. His first impression was modest. but the way he subtly looked me up and down made me a bit uncomfortable. It felt like he was grading me. At the meal, my mother-in-law asked me various questions. Where is your house? Is your company that big? I hear the IT field pays well these days. Is that true? The questions were endless. Then, my parents came up. What did your parents do? I hesitated briefly and answered honestly. Both of them passed away when I was 20. At that moment, my mother-in-law's expression changed. It was as if she had heard good news. Oh, really? Oh, but what does it matter? It's great. At that point, my brother-in-law chimed in. That's good. Our eyes met. He seemed to realize what he had said and quickly added, Oh, no. I mean, that's good in the sense that you can rely on us. Since we're family, you must have been lonely without parents. But you don't have to be anymore. It's good that you have us now. My mother-in-law quickly agreed. Yes, that's right. We're Boyoung's family now, so you can do anything comfortably. She said it with a smile, but it sent a shiver down my spine. What was so wrong with my parents not being around? Even though I let the moment pass, I felt uneasy. Looking back now, I was a fool. I later realized that that's good was their true sentiment. It was around the time we were seriously preparing for the wedding. One day, my husband cautiously brought something up. His expression was very somber, which made me nervous too. Boyoung, I have something to tell you. He sighed and spoke. I just listened quietly as he struggled to get the words out. You know how I told you I don't keep in touch with my remarried father? Well, my mom contacted me. Apparently, she got into some debt. She said she's having a hard time, so Mom reluctantly lent her some money. But it's quite a lot. I asked exactly how much. And he lowered his head and replied, Almost all of it. Mom lent almost everything she had, and my money went into it too. So, I was wondering, I want to contribute to our marital home, but with the situation, it seems like we'll have to take out a large loan. I'm sorry. I thought about it for a few days after hearing that. What would happen if we got a marital home with a loan? We'd be struggling to pay off debt from the start of our marriage. We'd have to postpone our plans for children, and even with both of us working, we wouldn't have much wiggle room. Actually, the apartment I bought was intended for rental income. I had no intention of using it as our marital home. How hard I had worked to acquire it. After days of Gomen, I made a decision. Let's just live in my house. My husband looked at me in surprise. What house? You had a house? Yes, I recently bought it to rent out. We can live there. We don't need to take out a loan. As soon as he heard that, his face brightened. Really? Oh, Boyoung, is that really okay? But that house is yours. It's okay. We're family now, aren't we? He hugged me tightly. At that moment, I thought my decision was natural. If someone I loved was in trouble, it was right to help if I could. I didn't know then that it would be the biggest mistake of my life. A few days later, I met my mother-in-law and brother-in-law again. My husband had arranged the meeting to talk about the marital home. Mom, Boyoung has a house she bought. We decided to live there, he said in a cheerful voice. My mother-in-law's face instantly stiffened. Her eyes widened, and she stared directly at me. Oh? You had a house? In Boyoung's name? My mother-in-law and brother-in-law exchanged glances. It seemed like they were communicating with their eyes. Sister, how much is that house? Did your parents leave it to you? It's worth about 1 billion won now. It's increased since I bought it. No, I bought it myself. The dining table fell silent. My mother-in-law cleared her throat and suddenly laughed heartily. Oh my. Our daughter-in-law is truly amazing. How did you buy a 1 billion won house at your age? My brother-in-law chimed in, bowing as if to flatter me. Wow, sister, you're really capable. Mom, didn't I tell you? Sister's salary is no joke. After that, they bombarded me with questions about the house I bought. How big is it? How many rooms? Is there a parking lot? What's the neighborhood like? Is it nice to live there? What's nearby? Is it close to a supermarket? The questions were endless. It felt like I was getting a tour from a real estate agent. As I answered, I felt something was strange. Why were they so interested in the house? Was it because it was for their son? At that moment, my mother-in-law bowed her head and said, Bo-young, as Junho's mother, I'm truly grateful. Thank you. What would we have done without you? Her voice was so sweet. Looking back now, I realize it was all an act. But I didn't know then. I just thought my mother-in-law recognized me. Like a fool. Surprisingly, during the wedding preparations, my in-laws kept their distance. When the topic of betrothal gifts and wedding jewelry came up, my mother-in-law spoke humbly, expressing regret that she couldn't provide much. That was fine. I had gone through difficult times too. Since I was busy with work, they didn't contact me often, and my brother-in-law was quiet. Except for a few invitations for meals, they didn't interfere much. I thought to myself, are they perhaps more reasonable than I thought? Maybe I was being too sensitive. And Junho and I spent our newlywed phase very happily. My husband was affectionate, and I was filled with joy at finally having my own family, living in my own house, where I no longer had to move, with the person I loved. Felt like a dream. I didn't realize then that my happiness would only last that long. We arrived home around evening after our honeymoon. I had been excited the entire taxi ride from the airport, thinking, our married life is finally starting. As we walked down the hallway from the elevator, I saw our front door. My husband entered the password. But the moment the door opened, I tilted my head in confusion. There were 3 pairs of shoes by the entrance. My husband's, my shoes, and a child's shoes. I stared blankly at the shoes. My husband went inside first. It was as if he knew this situation was going to happen, so he acted naturally. I slowly pulled my luggage, glancing around, and entered the living room. And I froze. My mother-in-law was sitting on the sofa. My sister-in-law was fiddling with her phone next to her. My nephew was playing with toys on the floor, acting as if they had always lived there. At that moment, my mother-in-law spotted me and smiled heartily. Oh, you're back? Was the honeymoon fun? I was so stunned that I couldn't speak. My mother-in-law got up and said, we came ahead and tidied up a bit. It was dusty. It would be hard to clean after a trip, right? I looked around blankly. The living room decor had changed. The cushions and rug I had chosen were gone, replaced by gaudy and tacky items that seemed to be my mother-in-law's taste. Mother, what is going on? My mother-in-law replied calmly. Oh, we're going to live together here for a while. Didn't Junho tell you? I looked at my husband with a bewildered expression. He avoided my gaze. Junho, what is this? Did you know about this? My husband scratched his head and said, oh, Mom contacted me suddenly. She said she needed to do some repairs at her house and asked if we could stay together for a short while. I took a deep breath. I told myself I shouldn't get angry immediately. I'm sorry, Mother. We're newlyweds, and we'd prefer to live separately for now. My mother-in-law's face immediately hardened. What? You don't know what family is because you haven't experienced it. You haven't lived in a big family like this, have you? Eating together, talking together with family, you haven't experienced that, have you? It will be a good experience for you too. You'll learn what family is. You lived alone. And now you have so many family members. Isn't that wonderful? I was flabbergasted. What was so wonderful about them moving into my house without my permission? I barely managed to suppress the urge to retort. Mother, you should have told me in advance. At least, I needed to prepare myself mentally. My mother-in-law waved her hand. Oh, why so formal? Do we need to be like that with family? If you had grown up normally, you would understand. No, I think it's a different issue. Think about it. You're a double-income couple. You go to work in the morning and come back in the evening, and if you're busy, you work late into the night. That spacious house is empty during the day. Isn't it a waste for it to be empty? But if we're here, We can manage it, and someone can cook a warm meal for you. Isn't that nice? A warm meal. Was that something I ever wanted? At that moment, my sister-in-law stood up from the sofa and said, "Sister, I'm sorry, but we really have nowhere else to go. Can we just stay with you for a little while? Also, this is a good place to look for jobs." I was getting increasingly angry but held it in. I felt that arguing would only make the situation worse. Still, "You shouldn't do this so suddenly, and this is my house." At those words, my mother-in-law's eyes turned cold. "Your house?" "Yes. Who's denying that? Are we asking for the house? And aren't we family now that you're married?" Their logic made no sense, and I didn't know how to refute it. I spoke firmly one last time. Then, 1 week. Please find another solution within a week. My mother-in-law smirked. 1 week? What do you expect us to do in that time? We need at least a month or two to prepare. That night, I angrily confronted my husband. "Junho, this isn't right. At the very least, you should have told me in advance." He looked apologetic and said, "I'm sorry." I was also taken aback when Mom contacted me suddenly. Mom said the house conditions were bad. They had to gut and repair it, and the construction was extensive, so they couldn't stay there right now. I sighed. "So, you're saying you'll stay here until the repairs are finished? But why did Mother say for a while?" "Yes. She said they'd leave as soon as the repairs are done. She said it would take about a month." My husband took my hand and said, "I promise. We'll leave as soon as the repairs are finished. So, please wait a little longer." His eyes were pleading. I sighed and nodded. At that time, I truly believed it would be over in a month. I endured the month, looking at the master bedroom filled with my mother-in-law's belongings, but the in-laws had no intention of leaving. Instead, they became more entrenched. At some point, my mother-in-law started acting like the complete owner of the house. One day, I went into the kitchen and found all my dishes were gone. "Mother, where did the dishes go?" My mother-in-law waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, they were too cheap, so I threw them away. I brought mine instead, so use those." When I opened the cupboard, it was filled with tacky, floral-patterned dishes. "No, those were expensive. Why did you throw away what I bought?" "It doesn't matter if they were expensive. Use these," which I brought. "They're much better." When I didn't back down, my mother-in-law slammed the pot down with an annoyed expression. "Ugh, what's the big deal about a few dishes? You should be thankful I replaced them with better ones." My sister-in-law was even worse. When I passed the living room on my way to work, my sister-in-law was lying on the sofa watching TV. When I returned from work, she was still watching TV in the same position. Once, I asked, "Are you looking for a job?" My sister-in-law replied, without making eye contact. "I am, but the job market is so difficult these days." I glanced at her phone, and she was watching a drama replay. "Isn't that a drama? I'm just taking a short break. If I kept writing applications, my head would hurt." She claimed she was taking a short break while lying down all day. On top of that, my sister-in-law used my belongings without permission. One day, I opened my vanity and found more than half of my skincare products were gone. My newly purchased essence was completely missing. Angrily, I went to my sister-in-law's room and asked, "Oh, I used a little. Your brand is quite expensive, so it's really good. But why would you use a new product that hasn't even been opened?" "Oh, what's the big deal between family? What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours." A month passed. As if on cue, I immediately asked my husband, "The repairs are finished. When can we move back in?" My husband scratched his head and replied, Well, they discovered a leak while working on the plumbing. They have to do more extensive work because of that." "How long will that take?" "About another month." "You clearly said 1 month at first." "I know, but what can I do? What can I do if the construction is delayed like this?" I held it in. I understood that construction delays were unavoidable. However, as it approached the second month, I asked my mother-in-law, and her reaction was strange. She kept avoiding my questions. Mother, what about the house? Will it be ready soon? Oh, it's being delayed because it's hard to find workers. They're short-handed these days. But her answer was too vague. Can I have the contact information for the company? I'll check on it again. At that, my mother-in-law's expression turned annoyed. What do you need to check? I'm handling it. Forget it. Don't worry about it. And she went into her room. That's when I became certain. The house repairs might just be an excuse to prolong their stay. Then, a decisive incident occurred. That day, I had to work overtime due to an urgent project at work. I had to meet the first half performance report deadline. It was past midnight when I finally finished and could go home. I took a taxi and arrived at the apartment building, but something felt off from a distance. Bright lights were streaming from our floor. As I got off the elevator, I could hear laughter and chatter from the hallway. I frowned and stood in front of our front door. I entered the password and opened the door, and I froze. The house was full of people. In the living room, kitchen, and hallway, there were over 20 people. Middle-aged women were sitting on the sofa, laughing and chatting. Empty wine bottles were rolling around. I could only stare blankly at the scene. My mother-in-law spotted me and waved. Her face was flushed with alcohol. Oh, Boyoung is here. Welcome. Say hello to my friends. I stood there frozen. My mother-in-law said to her guests, "This is my daughter-in-law. She works at a good company and is very capable. She bought this house too." Since I couldn't speak, one of the guests said, "She's got her mother-in-law wrapped around her finger." What daughter-in-law these days would live with their mother-in-law? Those words hit me. It wasn't just a temporary stay due to house repairs. They were painting a picture of me living with and supporting my mother-in-law. At that moment, my sister-in-law came out from the kitchen with her friends. "What is this? Right now?" My sister-in-law blinked. "What? Why are you having a party here?" "Oh, my friends wanted to have a housewarming party." "I know you're busy, so we did it amongst ourselves. But why didn't you tell me? You didn't mention anything like this morning." "Oh, you said you had overtime and would be late anyway." We were just about to wrap up. Seeing their smiling faces, something snapped within me. I couldn't take it anymore. "Please, everyone, leave. This is my house." The living room fell silent. Looking at me yelling, my mother-in-law's face hardened. "Get out! You can't have a party here. Leave quickly. Now!" The guests started murmuring. My mother-in-law stood up abruptly. Her face was beet red. I couldn't tell if it was from alcohol or anger, but her neck veins were bulging. "Hey, how dare you speak to your mother-in-law like that? How embarrassing this is in front of everyone. Do you think this is your mother's house?" "What?" Eventually, the guests started to leave. Glancing nervously, they gathered their bags and left one by one in a disarray. My mother-in-law glared at me until the end, and my sister-in-law shook her head and went into the room. "Sister, you were really too much. How could you do that in front of guests? What about Mom's reputation? You won't forget this humiliation today until you die. If you didn't want to be embarrassed, you should have left. Did you think you could use my things and freeload without any consideration?" My mother-in-law raised her hand. I didn't know if she was really going to hit me or just threaten me, but just as I was about to be hit, my husband came home from work. I looked at my husband. "For once, please be on my side. This is unbelievable. You threw a party at my house without a word to me. You even opened and drank wine. Oh, Boyoung, but do you have to go that far? We could have resolved this nicely. How could you embarrass Mom in front of her guests?" That's not it. I was speechless. That night, I went into the room, locked the door, and sat there. I felt like I was in a different world. Why were they using my house as their own? Did they ever plan to leave? From then on, I started investigating. I decided to find out the real reason these people were here. After the party incident, the first thing I did was install voice recorders all over the house. I bought them online. They looked like USB drives, so they weren't conspicuous. I placed one under the living room TV, on the kitchen shelf, and on the hallway picture frame. A few days later, I found something crucial. While cleaning the floor in my sister-in-law's room, I had to tidy it up while she was out. As I was wiping the floor, a document envelope came out from under the bed. Wondering what it was, I took a look. It was a property register. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was mistaken. The original owner's name on the property register was Lee Chang-soo, my father-in-law's name. But below it was the record of ownership transfer. It had changed to my mother-in-law's name 5 years ago, and a portion was further transferred to my sister-in-law's name. My heart pounded. From that day on, I started observing more carefully. I paid attention to every conversation, phone call, and action between my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Then, I heard something decisive. One afternoon, I came home, and my mother-in-law didn't seem to know I was back. "Hello? Yes, it's me." I pricked up my ears. She had said she didn't keep in touch with her ex-husband. "Hello. Soo-jung needs surgery. The hospital contacted me suddenly. They found a tumor." At that time, my sister-in-law was lying on the sofa, eating snacks and playing a game on her phone. She didn't look like someone who was sick at all. My mother-in-law's voice continued. "Yes, I need about 30 million won. You're the only one who can help us right now." "Oh, what can I do? All of Soo-jung's business funds are tied up, so I don't have cash. Don't just say you don't have it. Figure something out." Her voice was trembling, as if she were truly sad. Then, my sister-in-law's voice was heard, sounding hopeful. "Mom, how did it go?" "Yes, he's going to send it." "That foolish man. He still sends money when I tell him." "Mom, your acting has really improved." "I thought you were crying." "I'm a woman with a tumor now." I heard the two of them laughing. My hands trembled. It was a clear scam. A few days later, I heard a phone call. Apparently, my father-in-law himself was coming. My mother-in-law's voice became urgent. "No, honey, don't come now. Soo-jung's condition isn't good yet. It's not the right time to meet. Also, you can't come here yet. Come when everything is sorted out. Not now." Her voice grew sharp. After hanging up, my mother-in-law sighed and muttered to herself. "Ah, why does he keep wanting to come over? It's so bothersome." Hearing that, I was convinced. My father-in-law knew nothing, and when my father-in-law's money ran out, the next target would be me. I made a decision. To find out the true nature of these people, I had to meet my father-in-law first. Finding my father-in-law's contact information wasn't difficult. It was saved on my husband's phone. I agonized over it for a few days. Should I call? Then, I decided to visit him in person. I felt it would be difficult to have a proper conversation over the phone. My father-in-law lived in a place that required a 2-hour KTX ride from Seoul. I took time off on the weekend. I even lied to my husband, telling him I was going on a workshop. The place my father-in-law lived was truly dilapidated. It was a semi-basement room in an old multi-family house. As I went down the stairs, there was a musty smell of mold, and the hallway lacked proper lighting. With trembling hands, I stood in front of the door and rang the doorbell. After a moment, the door opened, and someone appeared. He looked much older than I had expected. His voice lacked strength. "Who is it?" "Hello, father-in-law? I'm Kang Bo-young, Junho's wife." My father-in-law's eyes widened. "It's nice to meet you for the first time. I have something to tell you." My father-in-law stared at me blankly for a moment, and then opened the door. The room inside was even more shocking. It was smaller than a studio apartment, with only a bed, a small dining table, and an old TV. It was hard to believe this was someone who once had assets worth hundreds of millions from his business. My father-in-law sat down at the dining table and said, "Sit down. Since no one visits, I don't have much to offer. It's okay." I sat opposite him, curious about why I had come all this way. He asked, "But what is it?" "It's about Soo-jung being sick." "No, no one in the family knows. I came alone." My father-in-law's expression became puzzled. I took a deep breath and opened my mouth. Father-in-law, I have a few questions. Do you know where mother and your daughter are living now? My father-in-law shook his head. They said they bought an apartment with Sujung's business earnings. I even saw pictures. It looked spacious and nice. I closed my eyes. As expected, my father-in-law had been completely deceived. Father-in-law, could you show me those pictures? My father-in-law took out his old phone, opened the gallery, and showed me. My jaw dropped. My sister-in-law had taken pictures of my house and sent them to him, as if it were her own. Did she say she bought this house? I shook my head. Father-in-law, this is not the sister-in-law's house. It's my house. I bought it before I got married. My father-in-law's face stiffened. What? What are you saying? Mother and your sister-in-law have been living in my house for 2 months, freeloading, and the business your sister-in-law is supposedly doing? What kind of business is it? My father-in-law looked flustered. What was it? Something about selling things online. Father-in-law. Your sister-in-law isn't doing any business. She just lies around watching TV all day. She's not even looking for a job. My father-in-law's hand began to tremble. What do you mean? And your sister-in-law isn't sick. I live with her, you know. She eats snacks all day and watches dramas. I've never even seen her go to the hospital for surgery. My father-in-law gripped the dining table. His hands were shaking. So, the money I sent was a scam? Mother and your sister-in-law lied to you and took your money? No. It can't be. It can't be. I took out my phone. I played the recording of the conversation they had that day. After listening to it, my father-in-law's face turned pale. Tears welled up in his eyes. So, you mean, my father-in-law lowered his head. He couldn't speak for a long time. I waited. After a long silence, my father-in-law spoke, his voice cracking. 5 years ago, Sujung and her husband had a business. It was before their divorce. They were expanding the business and borrowed money from everywhere, but their client absconded. They said creditors might come after us. So, they suggested transferring our assets just for show. They said they'd return them once everything was settled. I already knew, but hearing it directly made me angrier. At the time, she said she was so distressed she might die. What could I do? Even if she's not my biological daughter, she's like a daughter to me. So, you transferred it? The apartment, my retirement fund, my savings, all 800 million won. That person even arranged for a judicial scrivener. They prepared all the documents in advance. I just had to sign. I felt chills run down my spine. Father-in-law, didn't you feel anything strange at the time? That they had all the documents prepared? My father-in-law gave a wry smile. Looking back now, yes. But at the time, all I saw was her saying she would die. After I signed, they said it was just for show and they'd return everything once it was settled. But the creditors apparently haven't given up. Then a year, 2 years, passed like this. Later, when I mentioned money, they'd say things like, if there's no trust between a couple, what's the point? And is it because she's not your biological daughter? So, I felt guilty and couldn't ask anymore. And you even used a fraudulent transfer? My father-in-law nodded. I just thought of it as a piece of paper. I truly didn't know anything. Do you know where the money you sent went? You haven't even checked, have you? My father-in-law shook his head. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the exact whereabouts of the money. My mother-in-law's shopping expenses. My sister-in-law's clothes. Dining out expenses charged to my card. That's how the money disappeared. My father-in-law wiped his dry face several times and asked me, So, Sujung's husband's death is also a lie? Father-in-law, what I know is this. Your daughter doesn't earn any money. And about your daughter's husband. We need to verify if he really did business with her, or if there were actual debts. The reason for divorce itself might be fabricated. I'm sorry, father-in-law, but it seems like they approached you from the beginning with your assets in mind. My father-in-law squeezed his eyes shut. Why did they stop you from coming over? Why did they say to come when everything is sorted out? It's because the truth would be revealed. They're doing the same thing to me. They're living off my money, staying in my house, and have no intention of leaving. Then he clenched his fists. I'm a fool. A fool! All the money I saved my whole life to live comfortably in retirement. After a moment, my father-in-law looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, but his gaze had changed. There's something I can do to help. I nodded. Yes. Father-in-law, first, please gather all the documents. Records of money transfers. And phone records. And I'll contact you when I set a date. Please come to Seoul then. My father-in-law nodded. Okay. I don't want to be fooled like a fool anymore. Father-in-law, let's finish this together. Let's get back at these people. It took a month to complete all the preparations. I gathered all the evidence and received the documents from my father-in-law and set a date. The pretext was a family gathering. First, I told my mother-in-law, Mother, how about we have a meal with some relatives soon? I've been thinking. And I think I've been too sensitive lately. I'm sorry. This time, my sister-in-law chimed in. Without fail. Oh, sister, you've finally come to your senses. Yes. We were trying to support you, and a few days later, the day of the gathering arrived. I booked a large Korean restaurant. I invited relatives, and my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, husband, and nephew all came. Relatives started arriving one by one. My mother-in-law, her siblings, my sister-in-law's cousins, about 10 people. My mother-in-law whispered to me, Do well today. Don't mess it up like last time. Remember what you did to me then. You have to do at least this much. I replied with a smile. Yes, Mother, I'll do it properly today. The meal began. I deliberately livened up the atmosphere. I offered food, smiled, and enthusiastically responded to the relatives' stories. My mother-in-law also had a triumphant look that day. My daughter-in-law organized this event today. My daughter-in-law has finally come to her senses. I just smiled. In my heart, I was thinking, just wait a little longer. It will all be over soon. When the meal was halfway through, I stood up. I have something to say. There's another reason I arranged this gathering today. I want to tell you a very important truth. My sister-in-law narrowed her eyes. She said to me in a voice begging me to stop, Sister, what are you suddenly talking about? I took out a document envelope from my bag. I presented the evidence I had prepared one by one. The property register, the recordings, the photo of my sister-in-law's house sent to my father-in-law, and explained everything. From my mother-in-law and sister-in-law embezzling my father-in-law's 800 million won to the fraudulent divorce, the lies to extort money. It was all there. And finally, I played the recording. The conversation between the two women echoed throughout the restaurant. The relatives looked back and forth between my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. My mother-in-law waved her hand and flailed. That's a misunderstanding. Soo-jung was really sick. My sister-in-law's face turned beet red, and she shouted, Sister, what are you doing to our family? You've been secretly recording us? I replied coldly, Family? What kind of family scams its own family? What kind of family embezzles all their assets? Just then, the restaurant door opened, and all eyes turned towards the door. My father-in-law was walking in. Seeing him, my mother-in-law's face turned as white as if she had seen a ghost. Why are you here? My father-in-law didn't answer. He walked up to my mother-in-law and looked down at her. It's been a long time. Where did my 800 million won go? My mother-in-law's lips trembled. That was because of circumstances. I told you. Because of the creditors. Creditors. I found out the debt was only 50 million won. It wasn't 800 million won worth of debt. My mother-in-law shut her mouth. The money I sent for Soo-jung's surgery. She said none of it went to her illness. She's unemployed and can't even earn money. I could see my mother-in-law's legs giving out. She gripped the armrests of the chair. My father-in-law spoke for the last time. I will sue you for fraudulent division of assets. And I will get back all the money I sent you. My mother-in-law's face lost all color. Until then, my mother-in-law had been holding on. Her face had turned pale, but she hadn't completely broken down. The real breakdown came next. Mother, and one more thing, I'm divorcing him. My mother-in-law looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. What? What are you talking about? My sister-in-law shouted. Sister? Does that make sense right now? Why divorce so suddenly? I looked at my sister-in-law and said calmly, just in case you didn't know, this house is my premarital property. It's not subject to property division. At that moment, the air in the restaurant froze. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law stared at me blankly. It seemed to take a few seconds for them to understand what I had said. My sister-in-law reacted first. Wait, then. The house is mine. There's no share for Junho, mother, or your sister-in-law. No. Then you should leave by tomorrow. What? You want us to leave my house? If you don't leave by tomorrow, I will initiate eviction proceedings. My mother-in-law stood up abruptly. Hey, what is this? Where do you expect us to go all of a sudden? You're kicking out your mother-in-law. I replied calmly. We're strangers now. I'm not the one with nowhere to go, mother. My mother-in-law gasped for breath. Her pupils were shaking. She seemed to be calculating something. No. Wait a minute. My mother-in-law lowered her voice. Her attitude changed suddenly. Boyoung, let's talk for a moment. No. I have nothing to say. No. I admit I did wrong, but if you do this suddenly, we'll truly be on the streets. I watched her calmly. The person who was yelling strangers just minutes ago was now pleading in a low voice. Boyoung, just for a month. Please let us stay for just 1 month. We'll really leave then. You said 1 month at first, didn't you? That you'd leave after the repairs. But you're still here. This is the 3rd time you've said that. It's getting a bit tiresome. Tears welled up in my mother-in-law's eyes. I didn't know if she was really crying or acting again. Boyoung, please, I really have nowhere to go. My house is mortgaged, and it's going to be foreclosed soon. I have no money. I truly have nothing. Oh, you have money. So why would I have come to you? I replied coldly. Father-in-law's 800 million won. Where did all that money go? Shopping? Dining out? You lived lavishly in my house? You had 800 million won. And now you have nothing? How did you spend it all in just a few years? Oh, that was used to pay off Soo-jung's husband's debt and for living expenses. Your debt was 50 million won, wasn't it? What about the remaining 750 million won? You spent it all, didn't you? You stole and embezzled other people's money and squandered it all in 5 years. And then you came to my house because you had nowhere to go. My mother-in-law started crying. Her shoulders shook. Yes, son, I was wrong. I admit it. But I had my reasons. I had a hard time too. You had a hard time? Father-in-law is living in a semi-basement rental apartment on his pension. My mother-in-law stopped crying. She had nothing to say. My sister-in-law was even more of a spectacle. She had been fidgeting since earlier. Her eyes were darting around frantically. I looked at my sister-in-law with pity. Sister, what are you going to do now? You've been living off father-in-law's and my money. Have you ever written a resume? Have you ever gone for an interview? Is watching dramas while lying down considered job searching? My sister-in-law started crying. Sister, I had a hard time too. It was really hard after the divorce. Raising Min-jae alone. How can I live? I'm tired of hearing that. Everyone has a hard time. I was left alone at 20 and worked 4 part-time jobs to pay for tuition. No one helped me. I never freeloaded off anyone. Have you ever tried to do something on your own? You've only lived off money earned by others. My sister-in-law couldn't answer, because it was the truth. Now you have nowhere to lean on. Father-in-law is going to sue, and I'm divorcing him too. My sister-in-law's face turned pale. Seeing that, I felt strangely no emotion. In the past, I might have felt sorry for her, but not now. For 5 years, or even before, she had lived off the families around her, just leeching off their money. At that point, my husband had been sitting there without saying a word. His face was pale, and he was just staring at the table. I placed the divorce papers in front of my husband. Junho! Sign here. My husband looked at the papers, his hands trembling. Bo-young, wait a minute. I really didn't know. I truly didn't know anything. Believe me, I know you didn't know. But that's not the point. You were never on my side. When I was having a hard time, what did you say? Endure it. We're family. You stopped me. You said you'd send them away after the repairs were finished. You said it would take a month, but 3 months have passed. There were no repairs in the first place, were there? You knew that too, didn't you? My husband closed his mouth. I placed the pen on the table. Sign it. I have nothing more to say to you. My husband looked up, tears welling in his eyes. Bo-young, can't we start over? I'll truly repent. This time, I'll definitely be on your side. I looked at my husband for a moment. I remembered when he first proposed to me, I'll be the one supporting you from behind. How much I believed those words back then. But in the end, my husband was never behind me. He was always behind his mother. It's too late. You always said, endure it. Understand. We're family. You were never by my side. But what meaning does your promise to be on my side now have? What's the point of saying the words I waited for every day? Now, my husband lowered his head, and to be clear, the house is my premarital property. There's nothing for you to take. I got up from my seat. I looked at my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and husband. My mother-in-law had slumped into her chair, staring blankly into space. My sister-in-law was sobbing, her face buried in the table. They are truly like parasites. People who cling to others' assets and suck them dry, and then move on to someone else when they're depleted. They sucked 800 million won from my father-in-law, and when it ran out, they latched onto me. But now, they're finally off me. Looking back, none of them have ever lived by their own efforts. They've always lived by leaning on someone else. I said one last thing. Leave my house by tomorrow, and never contact me again. My mother-in-law suddenly grabbed my pant leg. Without you, we're finished. Please, just let us stay, even if not as daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. She must have pleaded the same way with my father-in-law. It might have worked then. But it won't work with me. Get up, mother. Don't try the same trick on me. It won't work. My father-in-law was watching the scene. His face showed no anger, sadness, or pity. Just a tired expression. My father-in-law looked at my mother-in-law and said, I'll see you in court. My mother-in-law looked up at my father-in-law, still kneeling. Honey, please, don't call me that. We're divorced. You wanted it that way. My father-in-law turned away. He glanced at my sister-in-law and said, I couldn't sleep at night worrying that you were really sick. I even prayed for my daughter's life. My sister-in-law lifted her head from the floor. Never contact me again. My father-in-law left. All that remained in the restaurant were broken people. The relatives had already left. No one sided with my mother-in-law. I also left without looking back. The air outside was cold. But I felt relieved. Finally, I had gotten rid of those people. Many things changed after that day. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law packed their bags and left the next day. They ranted and raved until the end. But I ignored them. When I threatened to call the police, they finally moved. As they left, my mother-in-law glared at me. Just you wait. We'll see how well you do. I smiled and replied, Yes, I'll do even better, because you're not here. That night, I slept soundly for the first time in a long time. My husband signed the divorce papers a week later. At first, he resisted. He asked me to reconsider, to give him time. Oh, Bo-young, I really didn't know. I didn't know Mom was like that. I'm sorry. I should have done better. As I smiled sadly and didn't respond to his pleas, he finally gave up. Don't say you're sorry now. But I won't hate you. You were also a victim, in a way. My husband lowered his head. Live well, Bo-young. That was the last time. My father-in-law began legal proceedings with the evidence I provided. He filed a civil lawsuit for fraudulent division of assets and also claimed damages for emotional distress. My mother-in-law resisted at first, but the evidence was so clear that she couldn't hold on. The trial took several months, and in the end, my father-in-law won. My mother-in-law was ordered to pay my father-in-law 500 million won in damages. Of course, my mother-in-law had no money. She had already spent it all. Eventually, the real estate registered under my mother-in-law's name went into foreclosure. She got back the house that originally belonged to my father-in-law, and so, my mother-in-law became completely broke. My sister-in-law was in a similar situation. It was proven that she had extorted money from my father-in-law, and she was on the verge of becoming a criminal. In the end, it was settled by paying a settlement fee and withdrawing the lawsuit. But to raise that money, my sister-in-law also lost everything she had. 4 months have passed, and I am finally living in my own house. It finally feels like it truly belongs to me. No one uses my belongings without permission. No one extorts money from me. And no one disrespects me. It's just peaceful. I keep in touch with my father-in-law occasionally due to this incident. I call him on holidays to check in and sometimes send him pocket money. At first, he refused, saying it was uncomfortable. "Bo-young, why are you giving me this? I'm not even your father-in-law." "Father-in-law, you helped me. If it weren't for you, I'd still be suffering." My father-in-law chuckled on the phone. "Bo-young, thank you. You and I saved each other. Sometimes I think, what would have happened if I had endured it then? What if I had lived with them, thinking, we're family, as my in-laws suggested? I probably would have lost my house, all my money, and become completely broke. They were the kind of people who would do just that. There's something I want to say to everyone reading this story. If you are being taken advantage of by someone right now, don't endure it. Don't endure it thinking, we're family, or we're married, or what else can we do? If you endure it, those people will likely take advantage of you even more. Cut ties quickly before it gets to the point I did. It will be the act of saving your life. I hope you won't experience what I did and live happily with people who are on your side and genuinely care about you. Then, I will conclude my story here.